All right, welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
Always ready.
Okay, good. So today we're going to be tackling Psalms, chapters 56 through 60.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And our source material here is really interesting, It dives into how to trust God even when things get really rough.
Right.
And we're going to try to connect that to modern life because who doesn't have tough times?
Right, that's for sure.
Oh,
And it is amazing how these songs, written so long ago,
yeah.
they still speak to what we experience today, even in the 21st century.
It's really true. Okay, so let's jump right in. Psalm 56. David starts out
Yeah.
pleading for mercy. He's surrounded by enemies.
Right.
He even says, "Be merciful unto me, O God, for man would swallow me up."
Wow.
But then, right after that, he says, "What time I'm afraid, I will trust in thee."
That is such a powerful statement because he's acknowledging his fear,
Right.
but he's not letting it control him.
It's like he's facing it head on.
Exactly. It's like Psalm 56 is saying, hey, it's okay to be afraid, but don't let fear win. Choose to trust in God.
So you're saying it's not about denying the danger,
No, not at all.
but more about not being paralyzed by it.
Right. He's shifting his focus, you see, to his faith in God instead of being consumed by the fear.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
And he keeps repeating, "In God have I put my trust."
Yes.
It's like that phrase becomes his strength.
Absolutely. It's like an anchor for him.
Totally. And, I think we can all relate to that in some way.
Oh, for sure. I mean, think about modern anxieties,
It's everywhere.
Exactly.
Like everyone I know is dealing with something.
Like, think about public speaking. Most people are terrified of it.
Oh, totally.
But imagine if instead of freaking out, you said, okay, I'm scared, but God's got this.
That's a good point, yeah.
It's a total game changer, that shift in perspective.
It is. And it's cool how later in Psalm 56, David gets this confidence. He even says, "When I cry unto thee, then shall mine enemies turn back. This I know, for God is for me."
Right. He's like, I've seen this before. God's got my back.
Exactly. So it's not just blind faith. It's like,
It's faith built on experience.
yeah, he's remembering times when God came through,
Exactly.
and that gives him that confidence, that assurance.
You got it. And you see that a lot in these Psalms, that God is actively fighting for us.
I like that. Okay, so moving on to Psalm 57. David's still asking for mercy,
Yes.
but now he uses this image of finding shelter under God's wings.
I love that imagery. It's so powerful.
It is.
It speaks to our basic need for safety and security.
It makes me think of like a little kid running to their parent during a storm.
Exactly. It's that same feeling of comfort and protection.
David sees God as that safe place.
Yes, exactly. That ultimate source of refuge.
Okay, but then he describes his enemies as lions with spears and arrows. So he's definitely feeling under attack.
Oh, absolutely.
But then instead of dwelling on that threat, he starts praising God.
Yeah.
Be exalted, O God, above the heavens.
That's so key, right? Like, no matter what's happening around me, my focus is on you, God.
It's powerful. Okay, Psalm 58 takes a bit of a turn.
It does, yeah.
It's more, I don't know, angrier.
Yeah.
There's definitely frustration there.
Verbal lament, for sure.
Yeah. He's calling out wickedness, questioning fairness.
And that age-old question,
Yeah.
why do bad things happen to good people?
Right. He even asks, "Do ye indeed speak righteousness?" It's like he's challenging those in power.
He's calling them out, absolutely.
He says, "The wicked are estranged from the womb." That's a heavy statement.
It is. It makes you think about human nature, our capacity for darkness.
That we're flawed from the start.
Well, it's been interpreted many ways, but that's one way to see it.
Interesting. Then he says, "The righteous shall rejoice when he seeth the vengeance."
Oh, yeah, the idea of God's vengeance.
I mean, that can be kind of a tough concept.
It is. But we have to remember, vengeance in the Old Testament isn't about personal revenge.
Right. Yeah.
It's about God's justice prevailing, good overcoming evil.
Well, it's more about restoring balance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Setting things right.
Okay, that makes more sense. But then, why doesn't it happen right away? He makes it sound like there's going to be a big showdown.
Well, that's where God's timing comes in.
Yeah.
It's not always immediate.
So we have to trust that it'll happen eventually.
Yes, trusting that God is working things out in his way, even if we don't fully understand it.
That's hard. All right, on to Psalm 59. David's in danger again,
He is, yeah.
asking for deliverance from people who are out to get him.
It really echoes those themes of trust and deliverance we've already seen.
Yeah.
But here, the focus is more on divine protection.
Like he's really relying on God for safety.
Exactly. David describes God as his high tower, his refuge, his strength.
It's almost like he's listing all the ways God protects him.
Yes, it's that feeling of security when you're relying on something bigger than yourself.
I get that. It's like when you're facing something really overwhelming,
Mm-hmm.
like a toxic work environment
Oh, yeah.
or a tough relationship, It's comforting to know you're not alone.
Absolutely. That you have someone fighting for you, in a way.
Someone in your corner. And I think that's what makes these Psalms so relatable.
I agree.
They speak to those universal human needs.
Yes, for comfort and guidance when things are tough.
Okay, before we move on to Psalm 60, I want to go back to that God's timing thing.
Sure.
In Psalm 59, David says, "Slay them not, lest my people forget." It's almost like he's asking God to wait on the justice.
Right. That's so interesting, isn't it?
It is. What's that about?
It suggests that God's timing is about more than just picking the right moment.
Okay.
It's about teaching us something, making us understand the situation.
So it's not just punishment, it's growth too.
You got it. It takes trust, though. Letting go of our need to control everything.
And accepting that God's plan is bigger than ours.
Right, exactly.
Okay, makes sense. Now, Psalm 60 shifts gears a bit.
It does.
It's more about a national crisis,
Yes, a communal lament.
not just David's personal struggles.
He's speaking for the whole nation.
It starts with this feeling of defeat, abandonment. David cries out, "Oh God, thou hast cast us off."
Yeah, it's heavy.
It's like they're broken, lost.
It's a powerful image.
And it makes you think, even when we're facing personal challenges, we're not totally alone.
No, we're not.
Our struggles, they're often tied to bigger things happening around us.
Right. And our victories can impact others, too.
So even though David's a king, we can still relate to that feeling of being overwhelmed by what's happening in the world. That sense of, helplessness.
When things feel like they're falling apart.
Exactly. But what's amazing is how David, even feeling that way,
Yeah.
finds a glimmer of hope.
He does, and it's so powerful.
Man, those Psalms are intense.
They are.
Like David's dealing with some serious stuff.
Yeah.
But he was a king, right? Facing armies and battles and all that.
Right.
But we're just regular people. Are we really fighting those same battles today?
I think, in a way, yes. The beauty of the Psalms is that they're universal. Okay. We might not be facing literal armies,
Right.
but we all have those lions in our lives. Those moments when we feel attacked or threatened or just completely overwhelmed.
Oh, okay.
Like when that coworker throws you under the bus, or you're facing a huge challenge and you just feel that self-doubt creeping in.
I know that feeling.
Those moments,
Yeah.
they can be just as daunting as facing a real enemy.
I guess so. Okay, so how do we apply these lessons then?
Whoa.
It's one thing to read these inspiring words, but how do we actually live them out?
It starts with awareness, I think.
Awareness.
Yeah, like recognizing when fear is trying to take over.
Okay.
When you feel overwhelmed, when you want to just give up. Instead of letting those emotions consume you, try shifting your focus.
Like David did.
Yeah, exactly. Focus on a greater power at work.
So instead of getting stuck in that I can't handle this mindset,
Right.
it's about saying, okay, I need help. I need to tap into something bigger than myself. But is surrendering control always the answer?
That's a good question.
Like, are there times when we need to be more proactive?
I think it's about finding a balance.
Oh.
Surrendering control doesn't mean being passive.
Right.
Remember, David was a warrior, a man of action?
Yeah, he wasn't just sitting around waiting for things to happen.
Exactly. But his actions were always guided by his faith.
By that deep trust in God's plan.
Yes.
So it's like a dance
I like that.
between action and surrender. We do our part, we fight our battles, but we trust that there's a bigger force working things out, even if we don't see it yet.
That's a great way to put it. It's a partnership.
A partner.
Between human effort and divine grace. We're not meant to go through life alone.
Yeah.
Struggling to figure everything out on our own.
No, we need help.
There's strength and guidance available if we're open to it.
Which brings us back to that verse, "What time I am afraid, I will trust in thee."
Yes. Such a powerful reminder.
It's like a lifeline when you're feeling lost.
Exactly. It's about shifting our focus.
From fear to faith.
You got it.
And you were saying, the more we practice that shift, the easier it gets.
Yes, absolutely.
It's like building a muscle, that trust muscle.
Exactly. And just like any muscle, it gets stronger with use.
So it's not about being perfect.
No.
It's about progress.
It's about recognizing when fear creeps in and consciously choosing to turn towards faith.
Okay, yeah. And I like how those images in the Psalms can help with that.
Oh, yes. The vivid
Like
metaphors.
David's lions and spears and arrows.
Exactly.
Those really stuck with me.
We might not face those same physical threats today,
Right.
but the emotions are still relatable, like feeling unfairly criticized.
Yeah.
Picture that shield deflecting the blows, battling negative self-talk. Imagine those arrows just falling harmlessly around you.
It's like giving a shape to those anxieties so you can deal with them.
Exactly. It helps to make them more concrete.
Okay, what about that whole idea of praising God even when things are tough? Sometimes forcing gratitude just feels, well, forced.
I hear you. But remember, David was surrounded by real danger,
Yeah.
and he still found reasons to praise.
It wasn't about ignoring reality, though.
No, not at all.
It was about choosing where to focus.
Yes. Highlighting the good doesn't erase the bad, but it does shift our perspective.
So even if it's just being thankful for a cup of coffee or a sunny day,
Or even just having breath in your lungs.
yeah, it's about looking for those little moments of light.
Exactly. It's about approaching challenges with a sense of hope, remembering that even in the darkest moments, there's a larger force at work.
And speaking of support, David wasn't alone in this.
Right.
He had advisors, his army, his people.
He had a community.
So finding our own tribe is important too.
I think so.
Those people who encourage us, listen to us.
Absolutely. Whether it's family, friends, a faith community, a support group,
Yeah.
we're not meant to go through life alone. Sharing our burdens, celebrating victories together.
It makes a difference.
It does. It builds resilience.
But what about those days when, even with all that support, trust still feels impossible?
Those days happen, and that's where patience comes in.
Patience with yourself.
With yourself, with the process. This journey of faith isn't a sprint, it's a marathon.
Oh, I like that.
Some days trusting will come easily.
Mm-hmm.
Other days it'll be a battle.
Yeah.
Be kind to yourself and just keep coming back to those core principles.
It's like learning any new skill. It takes practice.
It does.
Okay, so as we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Yes.
what's the main takeaway you hope our listeners get?
I hope they remember that no matter how overwhelming things feel, no matter how lone they may seem, there's a source of strength and hope available to them.
There's always hope.
Always. And by cultivating trust in God, they can face their own lions and emerge victorious.
All right, so we've talked a lot about trust and all these amazing ideas from the Psalms,
We have.
but let's get practical. You know, how do we actually use this stuff in our everyday lives?
That's the key question, isn't it? Because trading chariots for carpools doesn't automatically make life easier.
Exactly.
But the good news is,
Yeah.
those small everyday choices,
Mm-hmm.
that's where the real change happens.
So less slaying literal enemies.
Yeah,
More like conquering that fear of speaking up at work.
exactly. Remember that line, "What time I am afraid, I will trust in thee."
Yeah.
Next time you're facing something that makes you anxious,
Okay.
a big presentation, a tough conversation, even just that overflowing inbox,
Oh, yeah, that'll do it.
pause for a second and say that phrase to yourself.
Kind of like a reset button.
Exactly. Shift from panic to a place of, well, maybe not total calm,
Right.
but at least remembering there's a bigger picture.
And that God's got you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be a big meditation or anything.
Just a quick reminder.
Yeah, even a few seconds can help. And don't forget those powerful images from the Psalms.
Oh, you mean like David's lions and spears and arrows?
Yes. Those are so powerful.
They really are.
Because even though we might not face physical threats like that,
Right.
the emotions are still so relatable. Like feeling unfairly criticized at work.
Oh, the worst.
Picture that shield, deflecting those blows, or battling negative self-talk. Imagine those arrows just falling harmlessly around you.
I like that. It's like you're giving those anxieties a shape so you can actually deal with them.
Exactly. It helps to make them more concrete.
Okay, so what about that whole praise even in tough times?
Oh, yeah.
To be honest, sometimes forcing gratitude just feels, I don't know, fake.
I get it. But remember, David was in real danger, and he still found reasons to praise.
That's true.
It wasn't about denying the bad stuff,
Right?
but about choosing where to focus your energy.
So even if it's just being thankful for a cup of coffee
Yeah.
or a sunny day.
Anything. It's about intentionally seeking out those moments of light, no matter how small.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And David wasn't going through all this alone, right?
Oh, definitely not.
He had his people, his advisors, his army.
He had a community.
So finding our own tribe is important too.
I think it's crucial. Whether it's family, friends, a faith community, a support group,
Yeah.
We need those people who encourage us, listen to us, celebrate with us.
That's like they help you carry the load.
Exactly. Sharing those burdens, celebrating those victories together, that builds resilience.
But what about those days when, even with all that support, you just can't seem to find that trust?
Those days are real, and on those days, it's about patience.
Patience with yourself.
With yourself, with the process. This journey of faith, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. Some days trusting will come easily. Other days it'll be a battle.
Yeah, I can see that.
Be kind to yourself and just keep coming back to those core principles.
Keep practicing that trust muscle.
Exactly.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Psalms,
Yes.
what's the one thing you really hope our listeners take away from all of this?
I hope they remember that no matter how overwhelming things feel, no matter how alone they might feel, there's always a source of strength and hope available.
There's always hope.
Always. And by cultivating that trust in God, they can face their own lions, their own challenges, and come out stronger on the other side.
I love that. It's so powerful. Well, that's it for our deep dive today, folks. Thanks for joining us. And remember, you don't have to have it all figured out. Just take that first step, that small act of faith, and trust that the path will unfold. See you next time.